Namato Ratana Tayasa. May I pay homage to Triple Gem, the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. My respect goes to my parents and my teachers. Hello, good evening everyone. So today is Friday the 20th of November 2020. And this is Achan Sujan from Varapunya Meditation Center, Aberdeen, Scotland. As usual, I'm here with you all. Hello Margaret, hello Karina. I hope that you are wrapping yourself up, beating this cold weather. In the meanwhile, we are very fortunate that Aberdeen is not one of the cities that has got order to follow the restrictions, and that doesn't mean that we should be heedless. We should be vigilant and follow the instructions. Hello Anish, hello Manish. I hope that everyone is having a wonderful time. Today we had a mistake about the order that we ordered yesterday for the flooring. We ordered plaster boards, insulation foams, and plywood. But the items that we ordered delivered different. Later, when I checked the details of the items, it appears that I have ordered wrongly. And it reminds me that last night I talked about the perception, that how I was having this distorted perception of the items that I have ordered. My mind was thinking of an object that I thought I wanted to have, but the name of that item is different than what I have known. So our perception is such that so conditioned how we create it. Meanwhile, if you traveled from Scotland to England, we don't have this hard border. So also Ireland to Northern Ireland to Ireland, Republic of Ireland, similar to the Wales. And there is no hard borders. And yet we are divided by simple signs saying that this is Scotland and this is England. And this reflects me when I was traveling to India for the first time. No, that was second time. And that time we were traveling from India to Nepal. And there is a hard border. But as being a Nepalese citizen at that time, I could walk. Simply I could walk, cross the borders without any checkings. And we have this concept of, or the perception of these two countries, and the concept that this is Nepal and that is India. But in a reality, there is no such things are different. All that is different is other side of the gate. There is a police from Nepal, and another end there is a police from India. That's all. So the reality is different than the concept that we are living. And we can think of even all the countries that we are divided. Sometimes there is no boundaries, and yet we have this concept that this is belongs to this country and that country. And surprisingly, what I have experienced, that when you are traveling, doesn't matter, there is no boundaries, and yet if you cross that boundary, there is a feeling, the sense of a feeling is so different compared to one country to another. Like when I was traveling from India to Nepal, I always feel that I was not belong here. But as soon as I cross the gate, border, and I feel that I feel belongs in this place. So our mind is so conditioned that as soon as we cross even a few step or one step, that changes the perception of whole situation. We may be speaking the same language, we may be still in a same environment, and yet the perception is so different. And we are all living in this conceptual world, but the reality is different. And similarly, when we talk about the time, now in this moment when we are thinking about the stories, let's say even the stories that I'm telling you about my experience of being in Nepal and in India, and how I come across with this feeling of crossing the border from one to another, and it happened a long time ago, around 10 years ago. And this thought or the stories that I'm telling you, we have a concept that this was in the past. And similarly, when I'm talking about, or suppose I'm talking about the future plans, let's say we have at the center, we are planning to have, we have got the planning permission to build this meditation hall, and but we haven't planned it, and we have this tentative plan that first of all we will get this a detailed plan from architect and get the permission, and then we'll raise a fund, and with the raising a fund, then we gradually start working in the meditation hall at the center. And similarly, we have a master plan for the center, that how far we want to build and what are the plans for the center. And now, when I am telling about this future plans, we have this concept or the perception that, oh, this is the future, the plan for the future. And when we look at in these two ways of this perception, the reality is that it is happening here. I am talking about the past in a whole story, and then meanwhile I am talking about the future, a plan and details and why and how we are going to go forward. So these two things are happening at the same time here in the present moment. Then why do we still think that is about the past and that is another is about the future, despite happening in this present moment? And so that's how we are conditioned, and this is our perception too. So this is another way of looking at it, the perception of the time. The reality is the moment here which is happening, but we have this conceptual idea that we perceive whatever we are talking about what had happened in the past, we say that this is happening in the past. Similarly, in the future. Yeah. So that's why it is quite an interesting concept that we are living. But the reality is that it is happening here. It is happening here. And all the things that is happening again, it's the reality that this is happening here and now. Now, they're saying that do Buddhists believe in manifesting things? Yvonne, our neighbor, asks on a chat. And I believe that when you talk about things, it may not be the material things. A manifestation of anything, it has to have, there are so many other factors to come together. Only then one thing will be manifested. Without the cause, there is no other things arise. Yeah. So, manifestation of the things is possible only when there is other cause comes together. Without the cause, nothing can happen. And that is the Buddhist principles. But in a conventional way, or in a conceptual way, we normally create our conceptual understanding that this is and that is. And that's all based on the information that we have received, but not the reality as per se. The reality is different. So, this really reminds me about all these concepts and the reality that we are living. The concept, basically we are living in a conceptual world. Yeah? And meanwhile we take it as a reality. We take it as a reality that this is happening. Like the Shakespeare says, one of his play, that the whole stage is a play. And we are all playing our parts in this play. Yeah. So we are simply living in a conceptual world that we are playing our roles in this play and the whole stage. And this is again, reflects on what I have said in the previously about being a spectator. So when you are attending the theater, and you are one of the spectators. And when you are looking or watching this play on the stage, you know that all those who are playing, they are playing their roles. But the reality is different. As soon as they leave the stage, they have to come back to their realities, that they are simply an actor or actors. And we, as living in this conceptual world, thinking that this is the truth, and we perceive it as a reality. And whereas someone who has attained the liberation, someone who has fully understood, as something who is there to see it, and this we can see that reality as well. So the gap between the concept and the reality is we are in the middle, and we are the person who to see that both in a reality. It's like someone who is living as a spectator watching the play. An actor when he is playing, or an actress when she is playing on a stage, she put full effort to project herself or himself according to the play, in that play, on the stage. But in a reality, they are not. And only one person can see is a person who is a spectator, a good spectator, and will not be attached to it. But there are so many stories. So there are so many stories that we, I do not watch this so-called series of like what's called coronation, or now you forgot all those. But there are so many people so obsessed with those series, and they can talk about that, obsess about it. But the reality, they are simply playing. But you can play and you can talk about it. Your perception is such that they are real and they are in a real life. Soap operas, okay? Yeah. So that's why we are living in a conceptual world. But the very moment when we understand that this is not the reality, but the reality is a different, at that moment, then simply our perception to the things will change. Why people cry over watching the movie? That's simply because you are so drawn into it. From the conceptual world, the concept of this play, you're taking it a reality, and you're linking to the life, the real life events. And that's how you cry. But the question is whether that is true or not. The reality is not. Yeah? And someone who sees that in a real way, that's just a play, then there will be no attachment. There will be no interaction. There will be no discussion over it. All you will be looking at is, oh, this is one of the stories, and that's it. It's done. And this is what is happening in our life too. So we have lived so many lives after lives. According to Buddha's philosophy, we have lived and we will be living so many lives until we attain the liberation. The moment when we are liberated or become an arahat or knower, at that moment, what happens is that you're awakening to yourself to this concept that, oh, the whole world is just a concept, not the reality. So rather than engaging with this anger and a hatred, all what you need is accept. Okay, that is. End of the day, it's gonna change. End of the day, I don't have to engage with it. All what I have to do is to enjoy the moment that I have. The moment when you realize that this is a concept, that awakens you, and you will be able to accept things the way are, rather than as you want it to be. There is no involvement of your this misguided conception of the reality that we will be here rest of the world or long life. But end of the day, everything has to change. And with this, the inner consciousness just awakens. Inner consciousness just alerted. And smiles comes to your heart. And that's what Buddha was talking about, that we all need to open up our eyes to the world, that this whole world is not the true reality. It is the reality like just on the stage, what's happening, and we are playing our role. When we are playing our role, we simply need to play as best as we can. Yeah? As best as we can. And then, because we don't have any script to read or to play, along the way we have to find our own ways. All what is matter is, do not let the concept of the non-reality making you to be real. This is called a perception, sanya. Do not let the previously occupied mind to believe in, and everything that is conditioned, you are conditioned, whether you are born like a Nepalese or born as a British or European or Thai, or I am born like this and like that, I was born in this culture, in this religion, I am this and I am that. Just forget about this concept and perceiving that this is and that. When you open up, yeah, when you realize that you are nothing, but you are all with everyone, because all humans have got the same the red blood, doesn't matter what complexion you have. We all eat, we all sleep, we all need some supports. There is an equality on every human being, not only human beings, but also in terms of the concept, like how being, each and individual beings are made out of 4 elements. So other natures, other beings too. So with breaking all the boundaries, rather than holding on to this perception of this is me, like this and like that, the moment when you realize that I am not nothing like in a way Nepalese, or British, or Westerners, or Asians, or Buddhists, or Christians, or black or white, or Thai, or like that. The moment when you break that out, you become a nothing. But the very moment when you realize that you are nothing, you are everything. You are everything. You relate it to all, the whole nature, everyone. And that is the moment, is awakening. And you relate to the whole world. And that is not the perception of what we have, that I am this and I am that, and should be like this should be like that. But the reality is such that this body is made out of 4 elements. Yeah? And then the mind, which is conditioned by so many stuffs, and then we perceive things along according to what we were taught to perceive or believe in. That's a concept, not the reality. And all what we are doing here, according to Buddha's teachings, is simply breaking that boundaries and accepting, understanding that the reality is we are all. So, be nothing but everything. That is the message. And this is what I reflected this afternoon when I mistaken the items on the basis of what I understood, and the reality was something else. So as a result, we had to return all the materials back to the shop, and then fortunately within an hour later, the delivery guy comes back with the what we really wanted to have delivered. And this guy was so lovely too. He had heard about Buddhism and Buddhist monks and Thai people in Thailand, and he was saying that, oh, I'm very interested in Buddhism, interested to learn Buddhism, Buddhist meditation. And then since it was his last delivery at the center, and we offered him a coffee, and he sat down and talked with the monks, and they looked at the monks' work and saying that, oh, you don't have to go to college, but you are educated on this. You have learned how to make all this works. I like that. So monks have trained within in this center to build, to work as a carpenter, as a builder, and a painter, and everything. So he was fascinated by that, and he said that in the future he will come back to learn, or at least to observe the activities at the center. So simply, we are living in a conceptual world, and we think according to our concept, but the reality may be different. All what we need is to be nothing, so that we can be everything. So I end here for tonight's reflection on, again, perfection is a perception. And thank you everyone for watching, and may you all be well and happy. Take care of yourself and stay warm, and may the Buddha Dhamma Sangha bless you. In a few moments time, we're going to have evening chanting and guided meditation. You're most welcome to join with us. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, you may drop a line, and I will try my best to answer as soon as possible, privately or publicly. With this, thank you, and see you shortly. If not, then good night. Sadhu.